back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. This is episode 347, and we're getting close to Turkey Thanksgiving, aren't we, listeners? This is going to be a discussion between me and my great co-host, Cindy Nickerson. Cindy, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Hello, everyone. Cindy Nicholson from thecoursewhisperer.co, and we'll talk a lot about the work that I do as we get into this episode today.
Yes, and what we're going to be discussing, basically, how do you engage your students on your course? Basically, that's what we're going to be discussing. Sounds simple, but there's a lot of areas to cover. We're going to be going quick and deep, as they say, into the murky waters of membership sites. But before that, I want to talk about one of our great sponsors. And we've had some great sponsors in 2018. And one of them is WP Fusion. And what does WP Fusion do? Well, in your technology stack, obviously, I think you should have WordPress. Then the second thing you should have in 2018 is your CRM, which is your customer relation manager or system. And what I'm talking about there, I'm talking about something like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Campaign Monitor. All the formal email clients are now going into marketing automation as well. So why should you care about this? Well, if you've got a membership site or if you've got an e-commerce site, being able to track members or people that buy stuff from you around the website, and then when they do certain actions, send them a series of email, is a powerful tool. And what WP Fusion does, it allows you to do that. It basically allows you to do a number of really crazy, powerful things. So go to the WP Fusion website. And what the other great news is that if you buy any of their packages and you use the coupon code WP-Tonic, all uppercase, one word, you get 25% off any of their packages. And you can only get that with that coupon code. It's a totally special offer that they only offer to you, the WP-Tonic tribe. That's not bad, is it? So on we go into our discussion, Cindy. So how would you like to start off our discussion on this particular subject?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is kind of establishing what the problem is. Really, people want to create online courses, but one of the biggest challenges or one of the biggest struggles that is happening out there with the online course world is that people just either aren't engaging in the content or finishing the content. I don't know. I've signed up for a number of online courses, and I would say over 60, maybe 70% of the courses I haven't finished.
Oh, you naughty girl.
Yeah. Well, this is not uncommon. Have you taken courses, Jonathan, where you haven't finished?
And I want to make it totally clear to our female listeners, I'm not being patronising. Cindy now, as my co-host, is totally used to my English humour, and I wasn't being patronising there at all, was I, Cindy?
Yeah, it's okay, Jonathan. I know you by now. But have you signed up for a course, Jonathan, and haven't finished it?
I don't. I got one that it's actually one of our friends who goes on my Friday show. It's my brain's just gone. Let's get back onto the subject. Yeah, I've just joined one course and I've just looked at it and I haven't gone back, but I'm going to be studying it a bit more today. Yeah, it's easy to start off and then put it to one side and never go back to it, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. And I don't know what the real stats are, but you hear a number of different stats that 2 to 5% of people finish courses, or 20% of the people who sign up for your courses only finish it. And I don't know. I don't care what the number is. The number is just really bad. And so if you're wanting to create a course, one of the key things you need to be thinking about is how to engage your students, how to make sure that, they keep going through the course, because ultimately, well, if you think about it this way, if you create a course and the students that take your course get all the way through it, they get the transformation, that you promised when they bought the course. Well, to me, that's the best type of marketing out there, right? You have great referrals, you have great people giving reviews on your course. So when you're creating a course, you want to create it in such a way that you make sure that people get all the way through it. And, you know, the way things are right now, a lot of the way the courses are designed right now, they're not designed in a way to kind of help get the person through the entire course.
And, you know, I'm going to ask the obvious question because I'm that type of guy. What are some of those main reasons? You know, you just said, you know, they build their course in an obvious way that encourages not to finish the course.
Well, it's interesting because often the perception of, you know, creating a course is, well, I'll just make a bunch of videos, tell people about what I know, and then I will sell it as a course. And there's actually a lot of things that you can do in the design of the course. And that's kind of what I do, is I'm an instructional designer. There's a lot of things that you can do in the design of the course that helps people get through it. And so some of the reasons they're not completing the course, either they may not have time. You know, everybody's busy, so they signed up for a course and they've had all these hopes of dreams of completing it, but then reality got in the way and they didn't have the time to finish it. Or once they got into the course, they found that it was not relevant. You know, the content wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And then I think kind of the third big reason is that they don't finish the course is it's too much. It's too overwhelming, that they don't have the confidence that if they take the course, they're actually going to get the result. And so just kind of begging off of the course because they get in there and they realize, okay, this is too much for me. So I think those are kind of some of the main reasons that people aren't finishing the course. And so there's a lot of things that you can do with the design of the course to kind of counteract some of those, you know, reasons why people may not finish it.
I was going to ask you a quick question on that, and then when we go deeper into these areas that you just outlined, you know, a lot of people, you know, they like to show all the lessons of the course, right? And they say, well, you know, we're going to build this fantastic big course, and it's going to offer all this value and all these lessons. So, and when the person logs in, they'll be able to see all the lessons, see all the modules. Do you think having like 40 modules in a course does totally the opposite of the owner thinking? It actually has a psychological element where it deters the students from finishing.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's, you know, it's one thing like logging in and seeing all of this content that somebody has to complete in order to get the results. So that's kind of the first thing. The other thing is the length of the videos. You know, if they have if people have videos within their courses that are 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour long, as soon as people see things like that, they especially if they start listening to it and it doesn't apply to them directly, they're gone. And so then they're never coming back to it. So by logging in and seeing all of the content, it depends on how it's structured. I think, you know, it's okay to have a number of different modules as long as they are there for good reason, if they make sense to be in the course itself. And that's part of, you know, when you are creating a course, is to be super clear on what the outcome is going to be. And when you're super clear on what the outcome is that you want to achieve in the course, then you only include content that gets that result. Anything else outside of that, you don't include it. Because I tell you, adult learners, we don't like to waste our time. No. We don't like to waste your time, and we are super, super sensitive to content that doesn't apply to us. So
we've been exposed to those university lecturers that, you know, we were forced to do that course and, you know, listen to some waffler for a semester, and that totally wasted our life juices, and our passion for education almost finished us off forever, haven't we?
Well, exactly. And we don't have the luxury of that with online courses. We've got Facebook to compete with. We have Instagram. We have all these other competing distractions that will take us away. We're not stuck in a lecture hall where we have to get, you know, and we have a test at the end of it. So with online courses, you need to make sure that you are super the content that you're providing really gets them it gives them what they need. And so that's one way to make sure that you're engaging your clients, is to just only provide the content that the students need in order to get the result that they want. So if they,
I was being flippant there, but unfortunately it's a reality that fear is a great inducer for getting something done, isn't it? Where most online courses don't have that fear element. Like in a university, if you failed too many courses, they just kick you out. And if it's cost you a fair bit of money to do the university, and in America, that's a fact. There's a big motivation to get it. But on the other hand, when you look at the actual amount of students that leave, I don't know what the statistics in Canada are, but the statistics in America for people actually dropping out the first semester, the first year of their university is mind-bending, isn't it, Cindy?
Yeah, well, and again, why are they dropping out is kind of an interesting question. Now, a lot of it is that there's a perception that they don't think that this will add value to what they're doing.
Exactly. Now, when it gets the other factor, as you were talking, do you think, obviously we've discussed this in previous episodes about finding your niche, but in that niche, do you think at the beginning of the course, it's a good idea to have additives, to say, if you're this kind of individual at this level, or you're this individual at this level, or you're here, maybe 3, the first, maybe you should look at this element of the course if you're this number 1, and look at these elements if you're number 2, or look at these elements of the course if you're number 3. Is that making any sense, Cindy?
It makes sense, but I wouldn't structure it that way.
Right.
I would create 3 different courses.
Right.
And let's say you have, so for example, I am working with a client who is an Airbnb specialist. So he's creating a course for other Airbnb hosts,
right.
and how to, level up their game. And there's essentially 3 different potential courses here. There's people who are just starting out, you're just starting out to be an Airbnb person. What are the things that you do? Then there's the middle step where it's like, okay, you already have a property. How do you level it up to make more money from it? And then the third one is, what if you want to buy more properties, and be kind of more of a property manager? So there may be content that you would share the same in each of the 3 buckets, but they're their own course in and of itself. Right. So by saying, focus on these modules versus, that'll be just way too confusing for right. people. Yeah. And so what I would suggest is, if you kind of really identify 3 kind of different buckets, create 3 different courses. 50-60% of the content may be the exact same, but you want to make sure, especially from a marketing standpoint, that you are super clear on who the course is for. Because again, if people get in there and they perceive that there's a bunch of content that doesn't apply to them, they're not coming back again. And we need to keep them in there.
So what about the intro? Is the intro, the onboarding videos, the description of the video, is that a crucial part of getting students to finish if the other elements that we've discussed are in place?
Yeah, I think that, again, you want to make the course as easy for them to complete as possible. And so they are never more interested in completing the course that they've bought from you other than when they've just purchased it. So if you can create a really positive experience right at that outset, that will help, with that continuation through the course. So essentially, people are coming into your course. Imagine they're visiting your house. The first thing you do is you want to give them a tour of your house to show them where everything is. And so you kind of want to do that with your course. They're coming to your place. And so you want to make sure that they know their way around, they know how to navigate, so that when they're on their own, they can get through it themselves. So that's kind of one of the other ways, is to make sure that they are familiar and comfortable with how the course is laid out, how it's structured, and how to kind of navigate.
That's a good point. We're going to go for our break, folks, and we're coming back. We're going to be delving in more and hopefully giving some great insights to you how to make so your course is successful and the people that join it actually finish it, which is for you to build your course and get more students is rather important. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. I've had a great discussion with my host, Cindy Nicholson, the Course Whisperer. Just love that, Cindy. Just love it. And you got the coursewhisperer.com, didn't you? Managed to bag that, didn't you?
I did.
Yes. So we'll be delving in deep in the murky world. I was listening to Chris Badar, the CEO and joint founder of Lifter LMS, one of the leading learning management system plugins in the WordPress space, and he was interviewing. He also does a great podcast, folks. And Cindy, he was interviewing somebody, and he was talking about this subject. And he's saying one factor you've got to realise is, quite a few students, they're looking just for one key bit of information. When they get it from a course, they don't bother finishing the rest. So that's an element, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think that I have a feeling that that's kind of where online learning is going, is to more of this just-in-time learning, where people, they're not signing up for a course to learn about how to build an online business. They may be signing up for a course for, how to build a website, or how to, do SEO, or, things like that. So I think that I have a feeling that that's where things will go, as people have been burned by taking these massive courses and they haven't finished them because they haven't needed all of the content, that they're going to start to look for these more specific, course ideas, which I think ends up being perfect for memberships. Right. So, you could have a membership site on building an online business. And then within the membership site, you can have these various different modules on these various different elements within it. And so people then can come to the membership to find out what they need just in time, as opposed to, signing up for a full course. So I think that, this whole just-in-time idea is going to lend itself well to really, building membership sites, so that, people can come, have the community of the membership site, but then find the content they need when they need it.
Right, that's great. So back to this intro. So we discussed, got any kind of tips, more specific information about how you do these intro, about how the course is organised? Or do you think we should go on to something else about the subject?
I think just that the key takeaway is to make sure that you do have some sort of intro video in your course. I kind of recommend that there's two. Kind of the first video is around, introducing yourself and, why you created this course, and then giving an overview of what the content is going to be. So that's kind of the first video. And then the second video I recommend is having like a navigation, how to get around inside this course that you're now in, and, how the content is laid out. So one's kind of like the overview, and the next one is kind of like the technical navigation thing. So that's kind of bottom line of what I think you need when people first join your course.
And do you think, if you're starting your first course and you're trying to get traction, do you think you should offer one-to-one onboarding experience? Obviously, hopefully as the course expands, you can't do that because you just wouldn't have the time and resources. But do you think you should offer some personal onboarding to your initial students that join it?
Initial onboarding meaning like?
Well, you actually have a one-to-one Zoom with them, and you show them how you offer that to the initial students.
It doesn't hurt, and I don't know, it may not necessarily need to be one-to-one. It could be just like a kickoff call where people, come, join, through Facebook or what have you, and they have the opportunity to ask some questions or what have you at the beginning. So that might be a way to do that. The one-to-one may be more almost like as a bonus that you could offer, if they buy within like where you can offer a call with you, but that may not be till a little bit later on as opposed to right at the intro.
The reason why I bring that up is in the startup world, there's been a quite, dropout rate. Exactly what we're talking about, membership, is very prevalent in the discussions in the startup world. And one of the things that's people have been doing, I've noticed in that startup world, is they call it the onboarding, initial onboarding experience. They've been offering one-to-one video onboarding to their applications. That's why I bring it up, Cindy. Seems to be a slight trend because this dropout rate in the startup world is very large, and it's a big subject in that world. On we go. So I think, some of the other factors that we've discussed in previous episodes is breaking down your videos, breaking down the content into digestible morsels, gamification, or that seems still to be a big buzzword in the learning system. Also linked to our sponsor of this episode, automation of emails, where students reach a certain level, or they seem to have stopped actually working with the course. Then a series of emails are sent to them to encourage them to come back and finish the course. Are they all elements in your quiver of arrows that you think that people should be looking at to encourage their students to actually finish the course?
Yeah, the idea is that there's so many little things that you can do to your course to help boost that engagement or that, the completion rate, and sending those periodic emails, either as reminder that the course, that the courses, or a congratulatory email when they finished a particular module. Those are all really cool things that you can do. So maybe you can talk about the technology around that, Jonathan, in terms of, what tech options are available to, students or to course creators to really help with that engagement. You talked about email, but...
Well, I think we start with gamification. There's a couple of well-known additional plugins that you can utilize. Fundamentally, my focus is WordPress, and the two leading WordPress plugins is Lifter LMS and LearnDash, both owned by excellent founders and CEOs. With LearnDash, it's Justin. With Lifter LMS, it's a joint founders. That's Chris and Tom. Super guys. Now with LearnDash, they keep it pure. Their focus is learning management system, and if you want additional membership or gamification, you have to buy third-party plugins that will achieve that. There's about 3 in the WordPress world. They don't come to mind, but I'll make sure they're in the actual show notes that help you with gamification. With LearnDash, that they have third-party plugins, but they also build add-ons because their actual core model is slightly different to LearnDash. With LearnDash, you have to buy, you have to put money in the game straight away because it's a paid plugin. With Lifter LMS, you can buy all the core Lifter LMS plugin for free. It's in the WordPress depository, and you can just download it, install it. It works. You can't take payments. You have to buy these add-ons from Lifter LMS to take payment through Stripe or PayPal. And they also have an add-on for gamification as well that you can buy. They have their own one, and I think there's a couple third-party ones. So gamification through those two plugins is available. and depending on which either third-party solution or the internal add-on that you choose is up to your choice and needs, really, Cindy. Now, what do you think is a good way of using, because it's a buzzword, isn't it? But you got any insights about how it can be used effectively? Any tips or insights how it can be used effectively for a membership website?
Well, what gamification options are available with the plugin? Like, what kinds of things can they add to the course?
Well, you know, quizzes. When you get tokens, certificates. You know that they, depending on which one you got, they add all that, don't they? Where they're trying to get you into, like, you get they provide a list of active members, and the top member gets 5 stars, and so they're encouraging competitive spirit to be generated into the user group, which has its good points but also can have its bad points, can't it?
Yeah, no, it's true. I guess you need to know your audience to know whether or not that would resonate with them or not.
Exactly, isn't it? But what I was interested in getting from you was, is there any kind of scientific research or any in the educational field that that shows that gamification actually does encourages people to finish the course?
Well, I can't say as I can quote any scientific research off the top of my head, but their gamification definitely has its place in online courses. Just again, because people are or finishing their courses on their own, they're in their own little space. They need to have a way to kind of engage them, and at the very least, the completions of the modules, like where you are at in the course with the completion is the minimum gamification you want to include. But beyond that, earning points for completing modules or, pieces, I love it. I think if you can add that to your course, I don't think it would detract anyone from doing it. It can only motivate or inspire people to continue on. My husband is a huge, he would love things like that.
Oh, right.
He's totally motivated by things like that. Me, not so much, but I can definitely see its value. So if there is a way that you can add some sort of gamification
so you can also do it so they reach so many points, they get a bonus as well. I've learned, it occurred in our last interview last week, actually, Cindy, with Belinda, Ginger Spice. No, she remarked, she's sending out this daily email. It doesn't appeal to me to receive a daily email, but it's working for her and her audience. So what you mustn't do, listeners and viewers, is, because it's not exactly your cup of tea, you shouldn't think it won't go down really well with your audience. That you can get into your own bubble, can't you, Cindy?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. So I had signed up for a course that was through Thinkific, and I signed up for it a long time ago, and I haven't finished it, but I get emails maybe, I don't know how often, once every 2 weeks or something, just as a reminder about the course or whatever. And so it definitely reminds me of it and keeps it on my radar. So, that kind of thing I may not have done myself, but now when I see it in action, you can see how effective certain things can be.
And just to finish off, when it comes to email automation, with WP Fusion and with some of the hosted solutions, some of the SaaS solutions, Kajabi, I think, has some of this to a large extent. But definitely with using something like Active Campaign or Drip or Campaign Monitor with WP Fusion and WordPress, with your learning management plugin, LearnDash or Lifter LMS, You can definitely set up quite rapidly. Obviously, you've got to write your emails, but you can definitely set up automizations. So when a student hasn't been active for a period of time or hasn't moved on to another lesson or another module, a series of email can be sent to them, and as you can set up a series of email when they're going through the course to encourage them and point out certain things. So there's a lot of buzzwords. I've just introduced them myself, so I apologise, listeners and viewers, but this area is filled with buzzwords. If you want to know more about WP Fusion and automation in general, you can always book a free session with me on the WP-Tonic site, and I'm happy to give you some further advice. I try and be as available. I have a slot of times during the week where I make sure I am available, and you can book those through the website. Cindy, how can people get hold of you and learn more about what you're up to?
Well, I do all things in terms of how to design a course to make sure that people are going to get all the way through the course. So there's a lot you can do in the design of the course to make that happen. And that you can find me at thecoursewhisperer.com. And you can set up a call with me, and I can kind of help give you some strategies and ideas of how to make sure your course is loved by your students.
And listeners, me and Cindy have been thinking how to move the value that we provide to you in the new year. It's rapidly coming. We're thinking of doing a little webinar series where we talk about actual subjects in more detail, but also have a session afterwards where you can ask us questions. And we were thinking of starting a small membership ourselves, where you have access to that webinar and the ability to ask us any questions afterwards. And we're thinking of starting at a very low price. We think it's something that would be of real value to our listeners and viewers. If you think that's also that, I'll be setting up a landing page in the next week where I'll be promoting that, and you'll be able to sign up for that. But maybe touch base with us through Facebook or Twitter if you think that would be a good idea. We love your feedback. It's just something we were thinking of starting in the year, isn't it, Cindy?
Yes.
Right, that's great. She'll probably tell me off for saying that to you, listeners, but we love to get more feedback from you, and it's just an idea that we're having. We'll be back next week with either one of these internal discussions, or we'll be having a great guest that will help you build a great online membership learning management system and get the success that you're looking for. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.